Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to look just a little further ahead into April to take a look at the Lyrid meteor shower. So the Lyrid meteor shower is going to be peaking pretty late in April. It will be peaking late enough around the 22nd, 23rd. So we're going to have to push pretty late to get to the peak of the Lyrids. But the Lyrids do run over the course of April. So we can see they're starting in mid-April on the 13th, finishing on the 30th, but it's maximum there on the 22nd. So if we move back to the 22nd, so we can see here, yes, this is the night of the 22nd, and we can see that it's showing a zenith hourly rate there of 75 or a local rate of 23. That's partly because we're looking at it from the city with a limiting magnitude there of 5.7. Seeing things from a city like Cork City. It's going up there into the 30s. Now this is of course a prediction for how many meteors we're going to see. And it's getting higher there, or at least the amount we're going to see seems to be getting higher there as we were getting closer to morning time. The Lyrids are a pretty variable shower, and that's partly because of their parent body, the comet C1861G1 Thatcher. So this comet, we can see there it's got C for comet rather than P for periodical, but this is considered to be a periodical comet. It's just that its period is very, very long, over 400 years. So that means the trail of dust that generates the April Lyrids, it doesn't get replenished very often. And we do see plenty of meteors coming from this. Usually ratings around the 20s are what get reported, and that could potentially be due to the effect of light pollution. If we get rid of the light pollution, of course, you'll see more of these meteors if you are in the countryside. So we can see there the number there got significantly better, potentially predicting up to 49. Now we can see numbers there in the 70s and the 90s, but those, based on the records of the past few years, they're not quite as common. Getting quite that high isn't very likely. You're likely to see a zenith hourly rate somewhere in the 20s, which is pretty good. And for the April Lyrids, there are occasional April fireballs, or Lyrid fireballs. So you will occasionally get very, very bright bolide meteors from the April Lyrids. So we're here in the morning of the 23rd because we started on the night of the 22nd. So I did want to go back there. Yeah, the morning of the 22nd as well, we're seeing quite a good rate there of 74 and 70. The date, unfortunately, well, I guess it does make sense. Dates normally run from midnight to midnight. There's normally a break in the middle of the night where we change from one date to the other. So we can see here, we're looking at this on the 21st, which is the day before the peak. But as we cross midnight, we transition into the 22nd, bringing us to the date of the peak. And we can see the amount of meteors we're seeing there climbing up into the 60s and 70s. Because the dates are suited for daytime stuff, the dates that we use are for our daytime lives. We can see it got up there to 71. That may be the actual peak that we're going to see, or that this software is predicting. Yeah, and we can see it tailing way down there. We can see that it got up to about the 80s there while it was out of view, but we can see that from here in Ireland we're kind of catching the beginning and the end of the shower, whereas the real peak of the shower, by the predictions of this software, seems to be happening on the wrong side of the planet. So the April Lyrids, they're a stream of material left behind by this comet, which comes around very rarely, but there is enough material in that stream that we get a good amount of meteors regularly, and some of those meteors are incredibly bright fireballs. When this comet eventually comes back around, it should replenish that stream of material, but that's not going to happen for quite a long time. After 2200, it's quite far in the future that this comet will come back around. However, there is something else that happens. This stream of material stretches through the solar system. The comets that have these incredibly long periods that are hundreds and hundreds of years, they are usually the comets that get pretty far from the sun. The comet moves through essentially the whole solar system. The path of the comet is very, very long. So the position of the other planets in our solar system have an effect on this sort of trail of dust. As the other planets move around, they push and pull the trail of dust, the same trail of dust that we move through in April every year. So about every 60 years, the Lyrids get way, way bigger. You get a very intense Lyrid meteor shower roughly every 60 years. So the next one should be coming up in 2042. Not this year, unfortunately. So we can see there that we are getting a good number of meteors all through the night, the actual night of the 22nd, but particularly closer to morning time and the day before the peak. If you go out on the evening of the 21st and wait until into the morning of the 22nd, then you're going to get, you should get a lot of meteors as well. So we can see that they're radiating from up here in the constellation of Lyra. Of course, they are the Lyrid meteor shower. So we can see that they're off to the side of the star Vega. That's where the meteors are radiating from. So essentially the Earth is moving through this trail of gas in roughly that direction, or, rock and dust. Some of these meteors leave behind trails of debris, actual material left behind. So these are definitely rocky material, not just little flecks, not just little dust particles. These are chunks of rock. So, of course, they need to be quite big for them to be fireballs and for them to leave long, persistent trails. Even though they are few in number, they can be quite good meteors. Even though the radiant is in Lyra, for us, it won't have too much of an effect. But because the radiant is in Lyra, even if the radiant is below the horizon, we're going to see meteors from it. They radiate from there, but they can appear anywhere in the sky. So even when the radiant is really, really low in the sky there, we can see meteors way, way across the sky, much further, to the south or to the west. But their trail would trace back to this radiant point where they radiate from. If you are, paying close attention, especially later in the night, so we can see here a little bit after midnight, the radiant is nice and high in the sky, you may see meteors going the wrong way, kind of crossing the sky, going across the path of the Lyrids, or even going towards Lyra. Of course, that means they can't be radiating from Lyra if they're going towards it. Those then are likely meteors from the anti-Helion point instead. And we can see here on the correct dates, on the dates that are going to be good, the moon is nowhere to be seen. If we move forward, I believe towards morning time, there we go. So there's the moon coming up very early in the morning with Venus, and it isn't a particularly prominent moon either. So we can see there, the moon probably wouldn't be bright enough to block out the glow of the Milky Way, but it's not going to be up while the sky is dark enough. The glow of the sun will block out the Milky Way as the moon is coming up anyway. But the moon isn't going to be in the way over the course of this meteor shower, which makes things even better, especially if you are in the city. Because in the city we're already suffering from light pollution, the light of the moon will block out, kind of anything that's left, especially when it comes to those particular meteors. They are thankfully very bright, so they can shine out, but you will miss all of the fainter ones. Then again, the bright fireballs are often the most exciting, so maybe you won't find like you're missing too much. We can see here in late April, by virtue of the April Lyrids being up, we can see that Vega is already up as the sun is setting. So the summer triangle isn't up as the sun is setting. The summer triangle isn't up by the time the sky is dark. But part of the summer triangle is with us all night long, and not just in a circumpolar way. It's actually with us from sunset to sunrise, and we can see all of the triangle there in morning. So it's just another sign that we are moving closer and closer to summertime. You can see there these would be the Eta Aquarids. The Eta Aquarids radiating from pretty close to the sun, and I'm pretty sure that they're not actually going to peak until May, so we're still going to have to wait to get a good amount of meteors from those. So that's the April Lyrids. They are coming up. They are a good meteor shower, but in the case of the Lyrids, it may be quality rather than quantity. We may not get a lot of meteors, but there is a chance to get some of those really impressive fireballs. So I do hope that you do get to see some of those. I also hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel if you'd like to see more of this content. And if you'd like to read some of this information, you can check out my website, grievingscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.